The year is 2015. Creepypastas were becoming less and less popular on YouTube, leading to a new kind of video, scary horror let's plays. And the biggest game in the world was Five Nights at Freddy's. And what we thought would be the final chapter of Freddy's was on way. Again, what we thought. Over the course of the next couple months, Scott would release teasers for the game, which were huge. People lost their minds at these. I mean, before we knew who Springtrap was, we thought this was Golden Freddy. So I don't want to waste any more of your time, so let's just go right into gameplay and design. First, I want to talk about the design of the game. Springtrap is one of the best designs in the entire series, hands down, especially for being winged on the first try by Scott. But it also works well for the gameplay. Fnaf 3 only has one animatronic that can kill you, that being Springtrap, so it makes him even more threatening. Also, Springtrap being such a dark green makes him blend in with the background, so he's pretty hard to see. Why is he so green? I don't know. Uranium? Possibly spread my spores? There's only one more threat throughout the nights, that being the phantoms. See, in the game you can start hallucinating if you don't restart your vents. Some of the phantoms that you can find are: randomly, on one of the cameras, you can get jump scared by Phantom Balloon Boy. But if you flip away from that specific camera or just turn down the monitor, then he'll go away. Phantom Freddy will appear in the window in front of you, and the best way of avoiding him is by turning down your camera or turning up the maintenance panel. Phantom Chica will only appear on camera 7, and if you stare at her for long enough, then she'll jump scare you, causing a ventilation error. But flipping down the monitor will just make her go away. Phantom Mangle appears on camera 4 and will let out a terrible audio noise that will disable your audio device. But flipping down your monitor will get rid of them. Phantom Foxy will appear in the left corner of your office, and there is no normal way to avoid him, but there's actually a glitch in the game that allows you to do that. If you flip down your monitor and never look at him, then he can never jump scare you, and pulling up your monitor again will just make him leave. The Phantom Puppet will appear on camera 8, and if you stare at him for long enough, then he will just stare back at you. But flipping down the monitor when you see the puppet on that camera will make him go away. Now that we've gone through all the character stuff, I'm actually going to get into gameplay. The only thing that will keep Springtrap from getting to your office is the audio lure. Say Springtrap is in room 9 and you play it in room 10, then he'll go to room 10. But if you use the audio lure too much, then it can break, leading to you have to use the maintenance panel. Your audio can break, which won't allow you to use the lure anymore. Your video can break, so you have no camera access, and if you have a ventilation error, then you'll see the phantoms more. Knowing when the correct time to reboot is the main point of the game. Now, in the community, most people say Fnaf 3 has the weakest gameplay, which I have to agree with. I would happily go back and play Five Nights at Freddy's 1 a million times, but if you told me to go play Fnaf 3 again, I don't think I could. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see through the cameras, it's hard to follow Springtrap for myself, that might just be a personal opinion, and the phantoms are just really annoying. But I really never come to FNAF for gameplay. I always come for
lore! The lore, guys! The lore! The lore! Ring the lore alarms! The lore! The lore!
In all of the previous Five Nights at Freddy's games, story was more of a suggestion. It was mainly based off of gameplay. Fnaf 3, probably because it's the last one, it has the most story out of any of the other games. It is the least vague of all the games. Start off with what is given to the player, and then I'm going to go into stuff that you have to find yourself. First of all, the game takes place in Fazbear Fright, a horror attraction specifically made to talk about the urban legend of Freddy's. And on night 2, Phone Dude talks about how they found a new animatronic in one of the back rooms. Now I do want to tie this into the After Night minigames. In these After Night minigames, you can play as Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, or Foxy, depending on the night. They're being told to follow Shadow Freddy. Now, do we know who Shadow Freddy is?
No.
Once you follow him, you will eventually find a secret room that you cannot enter. After the animatronic leaves, Purple guy comes running around and will dismantle the animatronic. So how I take this, Purple guy has learned about the animatronics coming back to life and has come to just end it. He doesn't want them being around because it's evidence. On night 5, you play as one of the victims of William Afton. You will eventually make it to the room where the animatronics were dismantled, and you will find William Afton, or Purple Guy, the same person that is seen in the Fnaf 2 minigames, killing the child outside of Freddy's. He has been dismantling the animatronics because, of course, moving animatronics that have dead kids in them is evidence against a crime. And the only way that he can think of protecting himself during this time is by jumping in the old Spring Bonnie suit that he used to lure the children into the back room. Now, to understand what happens next, you need to understand what spring locks are. Inside of all the suits, there were mechanical mechanisms that allowed them to be converted into animatronics so they could perform on stage, but also be worn as a costume. And if failed to be wound up, or if they just get wet, then you will be impaled by all the animatronic parts within the suit. Let's just say it wasn't their smartest decision. If you don't know the secrets, then you'll just get the bad ending. The lights resemble the children still being inside of the animatronics. On each night, on every camera, there is a secret minigame that you can get by clicking on a certain thing. For example, on Cam 8, there's Balloon Boy's minigame, which by glitching through the wall, you can go to a secret room where you can collect a colorful balloon. This unlocks secret platforms for the other minigames. Also, now that you've unlocked the balloons from the Balloon Boy minigame, you can go back into the minigame and give cake to another crying child. On night 2, you can unlock Mangle's quest. Glitching through the wall and jumping on some balloons, you will make it to a place with a bunch of crying children that you have to give cake. In Chica's minigame on night 3, you have to give another crying child another cake. Night 4, we play as a golden Freddy that is most likely Fredbear, first mentioned in Fnaf 2. Night 5, you play Shadow Bonnie's minigame, where you again glitch through a bunch of rooms and give a crying child a cake. Once you give all the crying children their cake, you can now enter the Happiest Day minigame. You can give the birthday cake to a child with a golden Freddy mask. You do, they all disappear and move on. The children that were killed at Freddy's got their birthday and are no longer angry and decide to move on and be free. And then we finally get to night 6. But once you beat this night, then you get the end of Fazbear Fright. Fazbear Fright burns down in a fire during the night. The children are set free, William Afton is dead, and the company is gone. Well, brightening up the image will reveal Springtrap in the background. So, in conclusion, I think the gameplay of Fnaf 3 is maybe the least interesting of the series. Where I enjoy the gameplay loop of Fnaf 2 and Fnaf 1 just doesn't carry over to Fnaf 3. So I'm going to give it 4 long Markiplier drawings out of 10. But story-wise, I think the story is the best out of any of the games. Children get their revenge, and their murderer will suffer for all eternity. So I'm gonna give the story of the game 9 long-face Markipliers out of 10. Thank you all for watching, it means a lot. My name is Invader Bryce, and if you were to subscribe, that'd mean a lot to me.